Hello, students. Welcome back to another episode of Careers 360's Institutional Spotlight series. Under today's spotlight, we have the Faculty of Management at SRM Institute of Science and Technology. Joining us for this conversation is Professor A. Vinay Kumar, Pro Vice-Chancellor of the Faculty of Science and Humanities and the Faculty of Management at SRM Institute of Science and Technology. A little bit about Professor Vinay Kumar. With 25 years of excellence in academics and administration, his remarkable list of accomplishments in academics, research, administration, and development initiatives has consistently demonstrated his vision and expertise. From being associated with IIM Lucknow as a professor of finance to holding the position of director at NMIMS University Bengaluru and changing the dynamics of the place, he has achieved several prominent milestones. In his promising career, he has been part of several successful missions involving curriculum reappraisals, course designs, launching diploma and executive training programs, chairing prominent committees, research initiatives, handling accreditation process, and the list goes on. Welcome on board, sir. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So my first question is, could you take us through the journey of the Faculty of Management at SRM and the vision behind building it as a future-focused business school?
So SRM, the Faculty of Management is actually quite old in the sense that it has the uh, MBA program started in 1994, and so it's like almost more than 3 decades, and over the years, uh, the way we built the institution, it changed. It started with very few students, but it is one of the largest business schools in the country now. Our intake is like nearly about 1,100 students every year, and we have over 9 different variants of MBA, and we have over 4 different variants of BBA. And of course, BBA is also, but the intake is around 480 students. And so in all the students in just the Faculty of Management will be something like 3,000, 3,500 students, And it's a fairly large business school with over 100 faculty members working uh, in the school. And we, I mean, we were essentially, catering to the southern part of the country. And now we are actually building that brand of as a national institution, and we are making those forays into the national level engagement with various organizations, and we want to actually expand our footprint in a certain way. So that, but SRM University has several campuses, and there is one campus in Modinagar in Noida. There also we have an MBA, and we have the other 5 campuses are in Tamil Nadu itself, and every campus has an MBA program, and the MBA program, of course, the major program is actually at Katankalutur campus. But in all, if you count all the students, it will be easily just the MBA program will be around 2,000 students in all. That's the intake. So it's a fairly large business school, and now we are in the process of actually. We are a member of AACSB, and we are in the process of getting accredited. Hopefully, will be accredited by AACSB by 2027, 28. That's our perspective. We are progressing quite well, and so also our ranking, in the media, so we've been ranked by almost all media houses every year. But last year we got NIRF ranking also, which was about 56, and and hopefully we'll do much better this time. our research output, and every all parameters of a business school, we are actually progressing quite well. And we wanted to be one of those MBA programs, highly differentiated, cutting edge, where outcomes become very, very, unique outcomes, niche outcomes are something that we are looking at. And we've been designing programs like that.
So generally, most business schools offer, traditional specializations like finance and, HR. But SRM has niche specializations like business analytics, digital marketing, even sports management. So, what is the what drove the decision to introduce these? Um, is this a part of the future trends kind of?
So let's take the example of sports management as a specialization that we initiated. Now it's also a mature program. Sports management is there for over a decade now, and SRM contributes to a lot of sporting talent for the country. We've been, our students were part of major sporting events, both nationally and internationally, all the time. We were national champions of volleyball for a very long time. Our students contributed to, all sorts of sports, even, the water sports, swimming, and all sporting events. We have a huge ecosystem that supports student sports, and there, we have an entire directorate taking care of the sports initiative. Then we thought, if we have to basically make sure that sporting becomes a career for a lot of students, why not have a sports management program, an MBA in sports management, where our students actually find career outcomes through a lot of sporting agencies. And we can probably specialize in that area, and our students become part of the industry, where students can be hired, and funding for our sporting sportsmen can be initiated in some or the other way, and sponsorships can be garnered for sportsmen. So we thought a specialization of that nature would actually benefit uh, uh, not just the SRM ecosystem, but also because we had a certain type of standing. We thought the program is relevant, and true to our expectations, actually, a lot of our students are now in the sponsorship business, and major sporting companies. They represent almost every major company that is sponsoring sports in the country. So I think that was the intention with which we started. But if traditional electives are still there, it's just that MBA education has changed quite dramatically over the years, and it's going to change because end of the day, MBA is neither science nor arts. It's a multidisciplinary, practice-oriented program, which will develop managerial skill. Okay, where the managerial skill is needed in every sphere of life. Not just for companies, non-commercial entities like NGOs. You need managerial skill. Even if you have to start businesses, you need managerial skill. So the if the practice is changing, practice of managing is changing, then obviously the programs will change, and that is the that you have to keep abreast with the changes in the marketplace, and how the competitive landscape of businesses change. We also should change, and even though we have these traditional elective streams, the traditional elective stream is itself is changing quite dramatically. And we've introduced AI, machine learning, data sciences, and all of these, emerging technologies also as areas where our students will have expertise and use their expertise in, managing new age businesses. So every time the context is changing, the electives also will change. E- uh, Even the traditional electives are no more the same. For instance, if you have to teach investments management, which is about managing stocks and things like that. Now that itself is changing because AI has come into investment management. So you have to teach AI in almost every course. Similarly, AI itself is a specialization. So you have a whole gamut of electives that train the management graduates to develop skills in AI and ML and data sciences. So that's the spirit with which we work, and it's actually about the changing market context.
If I may just elaborate on that, um, how do you do students pick these specializations? Is there something that they come forward with, or is it something that they are allowed to do once they join the course? When do they take these specializations? How do they go
So,
about it?
so typically the program structure, if you look at the structure of the program, the mostly the first year is same for all the MBA, irrespective of what type of specialization the management graduates would want to have. Now, uh, but then let's say if somebody wants marketing as a stream, the person can choose at the end of the second year or at the beginning of the first year itself. In other words, you have but the programs are dedicated programs in the sense that there is admissions for MBA AI ML, uh, general MBA. There is MBA data sciences. There is MBA. So in the general MBA, you have all the traditional electives: finance, marketing, HR, strategy. All these electives are there. But if you want specialized MBA, you have it's a different stream. You can choose to get into it in the first year itself, and then there'll be minor variations. Mostly the first year is same for all MBA, but if you have chosen that data sciences is your career, pathway, so obviously you don't really have to wait till the end of the first year. You can choose to get it in the first year itself. So that kind of options are available for all the uh, graduates.
I think that's actually good enough. Some know what to choose, and some really think something, and then when they come inside, their ideas may change. Okay, so my
Mm.
next question is about the admission process. Now you will have two types of profiles. So one of the profiles would be students who join or wish to do an MBA after the graduation, and there are students who may have pursued a job and come with work experience before they come into the admissions. How do you distinguish, or is there any parameters that you put to decide how these guys come into the system?
Honestly speaking, we value experience. So, in other words, if somebody has a few months to a few years experience, now that is definitely valued. But majority of our students are actually people who have just graduated and are getting into the MBA program. There's no right way, but the point is whatever experience that you have, the initial, let's say if you have 2 years of experience, now that has a lot of implication from the perspective of learning outcomes. Because you have been in a company for 2 years, you understand the processes in the company, and therefore, when some courses are taught to you, those courses you can actually make very meaningful connections. You know what type of dilemmas typically managers face and things like that. So you have an idea about the problems that you would encounter. So therefore, what is being taught has huge implication in terms of your training. While the ones who have joined, after graduation, which is, I told you, the majority, they also need to have a fair clue about the dilemmas of managing. So that's why what happens is the methodology is same, okay, for everybody, but because we have a cohort which is a mixed cohort, all learning is actually going to happen through a peer discussion within the class. So actually, since it's a mix of both freshers and experienced uh, candidates, the discussions actually are the key things for learning the management skills. So a lot of case studies get discussed, and the perspectives of individual students will matter. And that's the type of learning experience that you have inside the classroom. So therefore, whether you are a fresher or an experienced student, you are not missing out on learning. But we do value experience. That it's a good thing to have a little bit of experience if you take MBA program. But from the training perspective, actually you get the best inside the classroom.
My next question is, could you share insights into the faculty expertise and how industry professionals contribute to the classroom learning at SRM?
We have a huge industry engagement. I mean, you see, one of the good things about Chennai is, or Tamil Nadu is, for that matter, you have fairly large manufacturing sector, and also you have an IT sector, software sector, services sector, banking, financial services, and a whole lot of things. All of them are quite, entrenched within the Tamil Nadu industrial ecosystem. So we work with all major companies located in Chennai and in Tamil Nadu, and a lot of senior executives do come to our campus on a continuous basis, and we have talks, guest sessions, continuously happening. It's a very vibrant, faculty, and every day there's some or the other thing happening, all the time. And our faculty members are, the one of the metric that you have to see in any business school is how many faculty members are actually senior faculty members. So, more than 40 to 50%, something between 40 to 50%. We have faculty members who have more than 15 years of experience, we have that type of a faculty mix. We have very few faculty members who have, less experience. So that is sort of a maturity that the institution faculty members have. And our faculty are continuously scaling up their research, trying to create the type of impact that we have to create in the industry. Closely, they work with a lot of entrepreneurs. Closely, they work with the industry, and it's a very vibrant ecosystem for students to actually learn.
I think learning is much more facilitated when it's more hands-on than theoretical, and that
Absolutely,
is
absolutely.
reinvigorated. Um, Another thing is like a lot of schools, and many of the schools do talk about global presence, global exposure. So in this scenario, most of the universities also have international collaborations, exchange programs, partnerships, and all. How do you think this benefits the students, who have joined in?
You know, we have over 120 universities, working with us at the university level, and we have very close partnership with some of the best universities in US. For instance, George Washington University, and a whole lot of other universities. And we do get faculty members, continuously coming from some of these esteemed universities, and we have semester abroad program. Students can choose from a variety of universities to basically acquire some credits in a foreign university. That it is available, and every year a lot of students actually take up this opportunity to visit a different country, pursue their semester in a different university, and this continuously happens. Actually, our international relations emphasis is over the years is shifting now. We don't we The student exchange is something that is already there, but we want faculty exchange, and we are now actually devising strategies and we are actually trying to work with less number of universities, but our engagement as is supposed to be much more deeper, not just the student exchange. So that is the type of outlook that we have right now. And then we are now talking to a lot of universities where our engagement actually deepens, and therefore we have curriculum exchange, ideas getting exchanged in terms of research, and then joint conferences. A lot of our colleagues from both foreign university and our university, we basically come up with conferencing platforms, and the faculty from foreign university come here, and our faculty goes and teaches in a different foreign university. So these are areas that we're actually working now, and hopefully this year we'll have some very strong MOUs in this direction. We'll be signing some of these MOUs, but we do have a very vibrant semester abroad program with a lot of universities. I told you there are over 120 universities that we're working with.
Right. So SRM's partnerships with these professional bodies are aimed to expand access to world-class business education. Now, this is all very nice to hear, but when it comes to students, what are the tangible benefits that students will gain from the collaborations?
See, the one of the key thing is, see the firstly, if a student takes a semester abroad,
Right.
the perspective itself is going to change. So much of management learning is going to happen inside the classroom and outside the classroom also, because you're working with your team members outside the classroom.
Mhm.
And so when you interact in a classroom that is international, the exchange of ideas is very enriching, in the sense that there's a whole lot of perspective that probably you may not get obviously you will get it in the Indian context, but if you are in a foreign country, obviously when you interact with foreign students inside the classroom and outside the classroom, there's a perspective difference that you will gain, and that perspective is quite important, especially for managers, because businesses aim to be global. Most businesses would want to be operating in a global context and multi-country, multinational frameworks. So that perspective one can gain if you are actually working in, if you have the opportunity to learn from a foreign university. I think that makes sense. And a lot of students actually take this opportunity to develop that global perspective
It's not just the learning in the classroom. I think there is a lot of learning outside the classroom too.
outside the classroom too.
Yes, so it's quite a good idea. The next thing is like with a lot of entrepreneurship raising up, with all the startups that we have been hearing in this past decade. So it has become a major career path and a goal for a lot of students. So how does the institute's startup ecosystem support aspiring entrepreneurs?
So, see, basically, MBA education itself is like a platform. Our students have the managerial capability of running businesses. The business can be anything. It could be a biotech business. It could be a FMCG business. It could be selling art. It could be selling traditional fashion. Okay, it could be a whole lot of the business models can be quite varied.
Mhm.
We have a very vibrant entrepreneurship directorate. A lot of our students actually take entrepreneurship as a career. Now, so when you have a university which is multidisciplinary, we have medicine, we have pharmacy, we have we have science and humanities, you have whole lot of things, biotechnology, engineering, robotics, mechatronics, and all of these departments have the expertise of actually working with startups. They are already working with startups. So a lot of our students actually, can work with the startup. And if you want to start a business, I think SRM is the right place because you already have a lot of businesses taking shape inside the campus.
Yeah.
You can draw a lot of inspiration. You know how entrepreneurs are actually taking up these risks. What type of emotional intelligence do you need to basically be an entrepreneur? How do you take entrepreneurship as a career and things like. So we have the ecosystem that supports entrepreneurship in a big way. But then, let's say a business management student can act. We have a lot of entrepreneurs actually. you know they're now some of them are actually running food businesses. Okay. Some of them are running FMCG type of businesses. So and then they're quite successful. They're running multi-million dollar businesses. It's not no more small businesses. So point is uh, so if you are a manager and you have the managerial skill, and if you want to become an entrepreneur, all you have to do is, if you want to do a food business, maybe interact with a biochemist or because we are doing some research, agriculture department. Okay, do some collaboration, and you can get ideas. Okay, and we already have some patents. Convert these patents into commercial projects, and then you have funding mechanism available. So you have faculty expertise, you have patents. So the patents can become products. From patents to products, the ecosystem is there available at SRMIST. So all it requires is, hey, if you can take calculated risks, then you have the ecosystem supporting you completely to actually start a business. And we
Okay.
want actually to emphasize this in a great way. Our students should actually take up entrepreneurs more seriously and take them as careers.
Okay. Industry exposure is something that is, I mean, very much a requirement, especially for management students. In fact, for all streams, it is. But how does SRM ensure? In what ways do students gain practical learning? What are the various means? And
So as I told you, management is all about practice in the sense that see much of the coursework that you do in MBA are essentially ideas, and
yes.
essentially how do you deal with uh, very ambiguous situations, business situations. It is giving you a perspective inside the classroom of dealing with actual situations. But then you really have to do it to learn. So the best way to learn anything is actually doing. So the doing part is something that we emphasize. There is a summer internship, but we want our students to, we want classroom to become co-working spaces, at some point in time. And if our students work on live projects involving startups and this that, I think that's the future of learning that we see here at SRMIST. But we do emphasize on uh, doing as a method of learning, and internships are one way of actually doing things, and we emphasize that.
Most of the times when students actually join an institute or look for admissions, placements is a big deciding factor. So, could you just share a little bit about the recent placement trends, how the Career Center prepares the students for recruitment?
So, I think, as I told you, we are one of the largest business schools. And of course, our placement record is like, about 75% of our students. That's the percentage of, placements that we have. But, we also have people who are running businesses who are joining. So, in other words, some of them don't want placement, so they already have businesses. So we have a placement intervention program in the first year itself, where they are profiled and what type of careers they should do. They go through a very scientific process, and some of the best senior executives who worked in the business, they come and train them to actually pick up careers. Okay, and it's one of the major. So over 25 very senior executives come in the
Okay.
first year itself, and then they train our students to basically make sure that you need to have a career plan and things like that. And that happens. And then there are repeated ways of our faculty members also continuously mentor the students to take up they resolve their career dilemmas. But the point is, end of the day, the institution is not responsible for placement. It is the personal aptitude and aspiration of the student. So we do have those challenges, but then we are continuously working with our students to make sure that these aspirations get resolved, because it's easier. So expectations are very high for the younger generation these days. So in other words, what happens is they value a certain CTC rather than the profile of the job. And so if you can actually see the a 3 years hence picture of yourself in a certain profile, that is much more valuable than actually the CTC. So therefore, what happens is we have to work with students, and they see the generational aspects are also there. You have to deal with the current generation in a different way. So we have those challenges. We are working on that, but we aim to be one of those institutions where uh, uh, the some of the best career possibilities are supposed to be happening from a profile perspective. Of course, CTC is more selling as a metric, but I think business doing things in a certain way is more important than the CTC. But yeah, we are working on that.
I agree there. I always feel placements is student dependent. You can just it's like saying you take the horse to the water, and the water has to be drunk by the horse, right?
Yeah,
So it's a facility that's offered. It's nothing more. And how you perform and the roles that you get is like, in fact, I wish students would take up challenging roles and startups at the start, because there is so much of learning there. And
absolutely.
yeah. My last question, sir, would be, what advice would you give to students who are confused about choosing traditional MBA programs and emerging specializations?
See, basically, marketing is not going to die. Okay. Uh, the learning marketing or learning finance, some of these skills are essential going into the future also. But learning about technologies are very, very important. If technologies and general worldview, one needs to have general worldview. You have sustainability issues, you have climate issues, and understanding geopolitics. All of these are very, very essential for businesses to run. So uh, you have multiple things that are happening, and you need to have fair understanding about all these things. Ultimately, it is your team that you have to manage. It is your aspiration to actually resolve, fulfill the KRAs that you have in a job. So therefore, the people skills are never going to die, and people skills are needed whether you are in AI ML profile or a marketing profile or a finance profile. So go with your what interests you. You should basically pursue that. For instance, if you are interested in networking, and if you are very interested in, if you are a very people type of a person, marketing, HR are still very relevant for you.
Right.
But then merely taking marketing, HR is not going to be fulfilling your this thing. You need to also have AI, ML skills also. So you take this and then also take a few electives from other stream. You can do that, and when you do that, actually you have a much more balanced perspective. You have some emerging technology skills. You also have traditional, electives skills. Based on your career aspiration, I think you should choose something. Don't go by the trend, because trends are going to be there. But at the core, what type of a person you are and what type of a job profile that you are looking at, that determines your elective stream, and you should basically choose that. In any case, people skills, team skills are needed for every profile, but it is needed more in some profiles as against some other profiles. That's the.
Oh, yep. Thank you so much. That was an insightful interview.
Thank you, Prabha.